Yeah. All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for joining us. My name is Alyssa Karpenka, and I'm filling in for McNally Robinson's event coordinator tonight. This event is coming to you from Treaty 6 territory, the traditional lands of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dene, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and Métis nations. Just to note that this event is being live streamed, so please be aware of the webcam to your right. I'd also like to take a moment to encourage you to silence your phones for the duration of the event. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Saskatoon launch of Turning the Corner by Lori Ulrich, published by Quillkeepers Press. Thank you to Lori for being here tonight, and also to Belinda Betker for joining us as guest reader. Belinda Betker's first poetry collection, Phases, was a 2020 finalist for 2 Saskatchewan Book Awards. The second edition of Phases, containing 31 additional new poems, was published by Shadowpaw Press in 2022. Belinda's poetry and award-winning haiku can also be found online and in various anthologies, literary journals, and chapbooks. She's a founding member of 2 Saskatoon writing groups, Sisters Inc. and The Obsessors. When she's not writing, editing, mentoring, or volunteering, Belinda reads voraciously, especially poetry and memoirs. She lives in Saskatoon with her Australian wife and their rescue dog, a Springer Spaniel Terrier Cross. I will now turn things over to Belinda. Please give her a warm welcome.
Thank you. What a wonderful turnout for Lori. I'm so excited for her. This is a long-held dream. So, I'm going to get emotional. Stop. Stop. So yeah, I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks always to McNally's for hosting these events. McNally's is such a cornerstone of our literary community. So supportive and just wonderful to work with. It's always an honor to read here. And yeah, just a little shout out to my publisher, Shadowpaw Press. Ed Willett is the manager of that. And thank you to Lori for allowing me to be her guest reader. And Lori and I have been together in a writing group for close to 30 years. So this is so exciting to be here for her dream coming true. I won't spend much time up here because it's Lori's night, but I'll just say a little bit about my book, Phases. So it's a chronological poetic memoir, all stages of my life. And Lori was kind enough to give me the suggestions of what I should read tonight. So that was really helpful because sometimes I just don't know. So, and one other thing is we've been together a long time in our writing group, and Diana's here from our writing group, and other people are here from all walks of our lives, which is really exciting. But it's always about the importance of connection. Lori and I have talked about that, and Diane in our group. You know, these sorts of things connect us to other people, whether we know them or not. So hopefully you'll find some connections in what we read tonight. So Lori had, we've talked a lot about our youth and bullying and how we experience bullying and how bullying still happens, unfortunately. So she said, read some of your bullying poems. So I will do that, but I'm going to start with a poem that just kind of has double meanings, and I'm looking back, it kind of foreshadowed things in my life. This one is called Out of the Box. Flip top box, 64 colors, but I'm only allowed one for face, arms, and legs. No goldenrod, Indian red, raw sienna, no mahogany, copper, or umber, no colors of the rainbow. Just this one, says teacher, as she hands me a crayon called Flesh. No other shades permitted for skin. Her hand over mine moves the crayon in little circles. See, it's easier to stay inside the lines when you round up to the edges rather than trying to color straight. So the double meaning in there is I came out in midlife in my 40s, and it was a whole new world. So it gives whole new meanings to words like straight and other terms that you never think twice about until they have more meaning. Beaten. I rubbed my bruised thighs under the dinner table. Is it safe to say anything about Jim from grade 8, who shoves me down, kicks and hits me almost every day? No matter how soon I rush out the door of my grade 3 classroom, or dilly-dally in the hallway, or which route I take home. Mom talks about morning coffee clutch. Dad complains about the blockheads at work, while my two brothers make faces at each other. I blurt, a guy at school beats me up after class. Dad drums his fingers by his empty plate. What do you do to make him mad? Just stay out of his way. He raises his evening paper, snaps it open. No one else says anything. It's my turn to clear the table, wash dishes, my stomach tight against the counter's edge. Drum a beat. My fingers tap, tap, tap my thighs under the table. Pat, 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 forefinger on forefinger, beat, beat, beat of my pulse. We've got a secret, Richard and I. We're getting married when we grow up, and he's famous like Ringo. Drum, drum, drum of the rhythms we beat on paint cans after men leave their day's work building new houses at the end of our street, an off-limits area where we play every day. Knock, knock, knock on the door when Richard comes by to walk me to school. Thump, thump, thump of my heart as he walks me home. No one from school beats me up anymore. And the last poem in that little group, this is called Three Musketeers. Richard makes friends with Danny, and Danny likes me too. He's the cutest guy in grade 3 and the coolest guy in our school. We call each other Musketeers, all for one and one for all. Or I'm Wonder Woman and they're Superman, or we shoot marbles or play ball. The best thing is they're my best friends. We suit each other to a T. And just as cool, they're my bodyguards. No one dares to bully me. So I was very fortunate to have those two guys in my life at that young stage. I mean, it still means a lot to me, those guys. I always pick when I'm going to read, and then I always kind of gauge, do I read that? We'll go to a grade 6 poem, and it is actually called Grade 6. The coolest girl in class mouths a silent message to me across the rows. I shrug, raise my hands. I'm what? She puckers her cherry-glossed lips into slow, exaggerated, silent pronunciation, but I can't make out what she means. What would it take to understand her unvoiced words, to comprehend my desire to decipher her mouth and lips? This one is called Good Girl. Mr. L walks so quietly between the rows during creative writing, I forget he's there until he punches his signet ring down onto the crown of my head as I bend over the folded note just passed to me. It's addressed and signed with symbols we girls design at recess or after school at each other's houses. Unique logos for each of us, so anyone not in the know won't know who notes are to or from. But Mr. L knew he was the Mr. Snotface in the note, so it was me he kept after school in detention for his self-described heart-to-heart about how I should follow the rules, write creatively as assigned, not pass notes, and be a good girl, all the while he's staring at my chest. Lori also asked for this poem, and it's a favorite of mine. Yes, poets do have favorite poems of their own. And this was the first poem I ever had published, so it has special meaning for that too. This is called Pierce. The woman who pierces flesh for a living snaps blue rubber gloves on her long, narrow hands, arranges her instruments, 3 silver needles in sealed cellophane, scissor-handled clamp. She positions cotton swabs and alcohol, antibiotic soap. No obvious expression, no earrings, studded eyebrows or tongue. She says, I've had everything pierced, everything, and more than once. It's my addiction, an adrenaline rush, pain that proves I'm alive. And after the holes heal, I pierce myself again. She leans close, marks my skin, asks which piercing I want first. The one that hurts most, I say, and hold my breath while the first needle pushes through and the heat rushes in, and I breathe to this place of knowing. I'm just going to read a few more. When I came out I was close to my 40s, I got involved in the queer community and I got involved in drag life. So I was a performing drag king and a title holder drag king here in the city of Saskatoon at Diva's Bar. So the last part of my book is my coming out poems and my drag poems. So I'm going to read one of the drag poems. This is called In Drag. What possesses me to cut clippings of my hair, chop them finer with manicure scissors, save them in a clear pill bottle in my medicine cabinet? What possesses me on Saturday night to gaze in the mirror, darken my eyebrows with mascara, glue hair clippings into the shape of sideburns, mustache, and goatee? What possesses me to bind my breasts, put on a man's shirt, tie, and suit, top it all off with the 50s snap brim hat my father wore before I was born? What possesses me to strut down the alley to the gay bar, stroll on stage to lip sync popular new versions of old jazz standards? What possesses me is them, cheering and whistling, begging for more, gay, trans, straight, shouting out they love me. And my last poem I'm going to read tonight, this is kind of my signature poem. It's a favorite, and it helps a lot of people get a question that I've been asked, even still this many years after coming out. The question is, why a parade? Which is also the title of the poem. Why a parade? For the 4-year-old girl who rejects her dolls and miniature ponies, for toy cars, trains, and Lego, and the 7-year-old boy who would rather skate Lutz and axle jumps than play hockey, and the 12-year-old tomboy who cries when her mother insists it's time you wear a bra, and the 13-year-old who has less in common with the guys than his girlfriends, and the 14-year-old who's bored with her friends giggling about really cute guys, and the 18-year-old boy who obsesses about wanting breasts and no penis, and the 25-year-old guy lingering over the glossy pages of Men's Health, and the 31-year-old trans woman who doesn't know how to tell her family she wants sex face helmet surgery, and the 38-year-old wife who agonizes about how to leave her husband for a younger woman, and the 45-year-old husband who cruises dark city parks and for the men he hooks up with, and the 56-year-old widow who discovers romantic love with her longtime lady friend, and the 62-year-old pansexual who's in between relationships, and the 74-year-old man keeping a hospital vigil for his friend and secret lover, and the 83-year-old self-identified queer and lifelong activist, and the 91-year-old in a nursing home afraid to be out of the closet. For all of them and all the others who don't identify with gender and sexual norms, who don't fit the stereotypes, labels, and acronyms, who are still discovering their true selves. For all of them and all of us and all our allies, that's why I prayed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Belinda. Lori Ulrich is a poet with heart. Her work is soul-centered. Lori is a retired teacher who lives on a farm with her husband close to the city. She writes of family, relationships, and her home prairie landscapes. Lori's stories have been published in Chicken Soup for the Caregiver's Soul and Through My Eyes, 74 true stories of survival, strength, and the power of believing. Her poetry has appeared in several magazines and anthologies, including Quillkeepers Press and Spring Magazine, emerging Saskatchewan writers. She has poems in 2 chapbooks, along with her writing group, Sisters Inc., of which she has been a member for over 20 years. She's also a member of the Saskatchewan Writers Guild. Turning the Corner is Lori's debut poetry collection. Please give Lori a warm welcome.
Oh, thank you all for coming. This is just truly overwhelming and a joy to see so many people here. Thank you so much to McNally's for giving me this opportunity to have a launch. Thank you to Helen and Alyssa for hosting tonight. I really appreciate it. To Stephanie Lamb, my publisher from Quillkeepers Press, thank you so much for taking a chance on me and my work. I'm forever grateful. And thank you, all of you, for coming to share tonight with me. My family, my sisters. I had a few surprises tonight, so I'm still a little bit taken aback by that. So anyways, I'd like to also thank Belinda for being my guest reader tonight. It's been a dream of mine to publish for many, many years. I had visions of what it would be like, but I never thought it would come in the form of grief and the loss of a child. Yet here I am with a poetry collection dedicated to my son. But this is also for the sons and daughters of others gone too soon, for husbands, wives, parents, family, and dear friends who've left us, for all of us here who hold our loved ones close to our hearts. Before I wrote Turning the Corner, I wrote another book that's yet to be published called Experience Connection, 365 Days Without You. I wrote every day for 365 days after Preston died. It's a journal memoir of prose and poetry. I'm a writer. It's what I know. So I wrote to process, to grieve, to try to understand what happened. These are some excerpts from that book. Dear Preston, I never intentionally sat down and said I would write a book. I sat down to write to you. And now, here we are. You have become a book. Day 18. Today I painted a rock for your memory garden, a yellow rock with 6 red roses. Love you painted on the inside. I love you so much it hurts. Sometimes it's painful to breathe. I gasp. My chest closes in. Inside my head, I am screaming. People say, you have your memories. I want to holler back. These are not the memories I want to remember. Day 34. I miss your antics. Sometimes you were quite dramatic. I think about all the crazy things you get up to. Remember your stories. All that is gone. There will be no more stories, only memories of what was. I loved your unpredictability. It was your stories that shocked me, perplexed me, surprised me, but always made me laugh. When you were 9, your portacath got infected and it had to be removed. The site left a deep, deep scar. You could sink a golf ball in the wound. It was deep enough, over your left breast. You walked hunched over, chest clutched like an old man, shuffling through the house in bedroom slippers. You said it looked like you'd been shot, and somehow you thought that might be funny someday. 10 years later in a bar, you overheard some young guys brag about being tough. Turning in your chair, you grinned and asked, yeah, but have any of you ever been shot? Pulling down your shirt, exposing your chest, you showed them your scar. Young boys left speechless, wondering how anyone could possibly survive a bullet aimed straight for the heart. Day 90. If I don't write to empty my mind, I go mad. It's a quote by Lord Byron. It is only the pen that brings my madness to life. Bursts it and lets it shriek. Today, the music room evolved. Your electronic equipment was set up. The room was bright and inviting. Music, guitars, djembe drums, pictures of you, your treasured plants, incense, and candles. I love it and I don't. Everything I touch is you. Your imprint leaves a dent on my soul. Day 196. This morning, as I drove to school, I asked for a sign. I wondered why I'm receiving so few. Under my skin, there's nothing but a ravaged, broken spirit, clawing from the inside out. In my classroom, one boy wore a new hat. It was black with a fire logo. Handwritten underneath was one word, Preston. For a moment, I stood at the front of the class stunned. Unable to speak, I made it back to my desk, and after a moment, resumed teaching. Preston, a fire logo and your name. I've never seen a hat like that before. And I found out just this year, just a couple months ago actually, from my grandson Eric, who's here tonight, that Preston is a YouTuber, very famous YouTuber, and his merchandise hat has a fire logo. Day 232. Preston, this is the start of Journal 6. I've been writing to you for 232 days. Every day I missed you. Every day I cry. Time never says to enjoy yourself now. Tomorrow is not promised, but I think that is what time meant to say. This is the final page, day 365. Time releases the lock upon my throat. Trust me to speak. You live in lyrics of song, soft language of poetry, stories, life lessons. You live in me. You are the words on these pages. I am holding you. And at the end of writing day 1 to day 365, my need for writing wasn't over. So this is how turning the corner came to be. Writing is all I know, so that's what I do. Turning the corner. In the beginning, I was really lost. Didn't really know who I was anymore. So it's hard to explain. I was trying to explain to some friends why I have trouble sleeping at night. And it's been that way for a really long time. You could call it fear. You could call it PTSD. You can call it really what it is, grief. I choose life for love. I wake distraught, reach for my husband's hand, his warmth. His touch tethers me, keeps me grounded. When I dream of dying, when my body starts to lift, when anxiety comes for me in the dark, when I sleep. Preston was 9 when he was diagnosed with a brain tumor, 60% chance of survival, 3 years of chemotherapy. He went blind. Aggressive brain cancer, no chance of survival. Alternative treatments, hospice at our home. He died at 30, loved by his wife, his family, his friends. I fear my spirit being taken against my will. Is heaven a place for those who carry too much pain? Memories torture me. My mind relives each moment of his struggles. Eyes open, I fear what I do without my husband. Would I also rise, leave my earth body behind? So I imagine many of us have a memory shelf or a box or somewhere that we keep special mementos of those who've passed away, those that we love. We found a little Tibetan bowl in Edmonton on White Ave, a funky little shop, and they bought it for Preston some time ago. Tibetan bowl. A Tibetan singing bowl rests on a memory shelf beside Preston's picture. The Tibetan gong, vajra, small carved piece of cherry wood, and braided sweetgrass. The bowl fits into the palm of my hand. I bought it as a gift for him in a retro shop, full of nostalgia. It was on a table with carved stone Buddhas, incense sticks, chakra stones, and essential oils. I played the meditation bell, listened to its voice. I remember his surprise. Without vision, there were things he knew only by touch. He ran his fingers around the rim, marveled at its smoothness. He circled the mallet clockwise around the outer edge in a slow, repetitive motion. Sitting cross-legged on the floor, he cupped a bowl in his hand. It vibrated and played with prolonged energy. His body relaxed. He smiled. I closed my eyes. I hold the singing bowl in my paw. I imagine his strong, steady hand over mine, and I run the mallet around and around and around. This next poem, people that have already purchased the book and give me their comments, they've told me this one seems to hit them the hardest. I have to admit, this is probably the hardest poem that I wrote. We all say things we think we're supposed to say. We want to honor those that we love. We want to keep their spirit alive. But that doesn't mean that we're okay. It's called The Biggest Lie I Ever Told. When it became clear that you would die soon, I tried to say it all. I told you I loved you over and over, day after day, so you'd know. I told you I was proud of you, of the confident young man you'd become. I told you your positive spirit and energy flowed into the hearts of those you knew well. I told you I was elated you'd found someone to love as deeply as you did, someone you'd marry. I told you I'd never trade the journey you took your dad and I on throughout your life for anything. I told you I'd be okay. We'd be okay. We'd look after each other. It was okay for you to go. I'd read this as what a person was supposed to do, to set their loved ones free, help them on their journey. And I've regretted these words ever since. I'm not okay. We're not okay. Not without you. I lied. Years later, I sit with memories, wonder how I could have been so naive. How am I supposed to keep breathing when you are no longer here? This next section is called Every Line Sings Your Memory, and they're all poems that were inspired by musicians that Preston really enjoyed. Those of you that knew him knew he was a musician, self-taught on drums, djembe, played the keyboard. He was eccentric in his music tastes, and he had a very wide collection. We found 10 CDs of Tom Waits, and I have to admit I didn't know who he was till I listened to them and really actually started to enjoy his music. And some of these poems are inspirations from that. On a stormy July evening, sky cracked, thunder boomed. God called, come up to my house. Drums of thunder walked my son home. Heaven's music welcomed him with rushing wind, rumbling and lightning. The sky opened and rain fell. He didn't go easily. Surrendering was not his nature. On a stormy early July evening, he fought for life, for love. High winds blew in from an open bedroom window. Angels whispered, come, I will take your pain. My son reached out with his hand. He loved life, lived every moment. Even in dark times, he found joy. On stormy nights, I search for the crack in sky, flash of light. I know my son is not far away. Someday he will call, come up to my house. This next one is called Heart Roses. I wear a red rose on my left forearm. There's tattooed petals that never fade. Experience connection is handwritten in black ink beside it, my son's traced initials complete the tattoo. Every year in late spring, I buy miniature roses from a kitchen table. I should be used to carrying on without him. It has been 5 years. Summer's exit always leaves a tear. Rose petals wilt and drop. Signs of fall, a need for warmer clothing. Winter's entrance hurts. Red was my son's favorite color. I expected to sit with him on a park bench in every season, every year of my life. There are 7 of us that have the Experience Connection tattoo. There's mine. My husband has a replica of Preston's face with Experience Connection on it, on a patch cord, written on a patch cord. My daughter-in-law has Experience Connection on her shoulder. My son-in-law has Experience down one arm and Connection down the other. My daughter's is a little different. Hers is thunder and lightning with the infinity sign, and it has its own special meaning. 2 of Preston's very best friends have them written in Braille, one on his arm and one on his left shoulder. Why Experience Connection? Came from a conversation he had with one of his very closest friends. They're talking about the meaning of life, and why we're here, what our purpose is. Preston said, it's to experience connection. Preston was perfectly imperfect, is what I'd say. He was flawed and real. He was also loud. When he entered a room, he took over. And yet, he knew how to give the most precious gift of all. He knew how to listen, really listen. This one's called Coffee and a Chat. Come in, my son would call when I knocked on his door for a visit. I made a fresh pot of coffee. Would you like a cup? How about a cookie? I made them with spelt flour and carrot chips. Our conversations were always long. We spoke of anything and everything. My favorite topics were his views on politics and religion. Never a dull moment. He'd tell me, his friends told him, you're not like the rest. He'd add, friends trust me with their struggles. I listen, tell them where it's at. He'd laugh. Who's perfect anyway? Look at me, all the shit I've done. He'd say, I give them a cup of coffee. Just sit. Give them space to talk. I keep their secrets. That's why they keep coming back. When I left his apartment, we'd hug. Often as I walked down the stairs, I'd pass one of his friends on their way up. This one is a Janis Joplin inspiration. Many years ago, and I'm not sure, maybe some of the students are actually with me that came tonight. I have some senior drama students in the crowd. We were in Moose Jaw for our senior drama regionals, and I was shopping, and I saw a poster of Janis Joplin, black and white, and she was naked from here down to her waist. We always like to play little jokes on Preston, so I thought it'd be funny if I bought him the poster. Blind guy can't see it, so it'll be sort of funny. It's called Live Your Loving Life. Preston was 20 when he pinned a black and white poster of Janis Joplin on his bedroom wall. All she wore on her body were strands of long beaded necklaces with 4 bangle bracelets on her left hand. Her long wavy hair almost covering her face. She looked pensive. Her piercing eyes followed the viewer. At the bottom of the poster, in bold ink, 1943 to 1970. His friends teased him about a blind guy's attraction to a naked girl's picture. His friend David laughed, stuck pushpins in her nipples so Preston could get a feel for them. Janis was one of his favorite vocalists. Her full, rich tone in As Good as You've Been to This World reminds me of his love for living. The lyrics speak of karma, have good intentions, treat others well. What you give the world will come back to you. Live the best you can. And he did. Last evening, more than 5 years after his death, his friend Shar told me she misses him. He was a good friend. There aren't many people like that around. She reminisced about the good times they had. They met at a summer camp for visually impaired when they were 10. Stayed in touch for 20 years. She told me how every year he'd make everyone at camp laugh. He'd leave his cabin late at night, prank people, scrape his fingers down window screens and make animal noises, scare them silly. At home, I look at his Janis Joplin poster, now pinned up in our music room. I play her CD, listen to the lyrics. As good as you've been to this world. Tears stream down. I hold a black and white photo of Preston in my hands. 1986 to 2016. The last section is called Seasons Pass. How each season has its time, its place, and its feeling. And I write through every season, and it's almost like round and round and round, season after season, year after year. I've just kept writing. This one's for fall. It's called Prairie Roads. I bike down Prairie Pass by my home, hear gravel grind under my tires. I watch for larger stones swerve, continue with a slow turn of petals. Leaves on poplar, willow, and maple color the fields. Golden amber, burnt orange, dappled green, and crimson shine brilliant against straw pastures and blue sky. Occasional flocks of geese ruffle the air. Every day I bike the same roads, ride over the same stones. Leaves fall, cold wind blows. The honk of geese call my eyes upward. I hear their powerful wings. The geese will return in spring as new buds blossom on poplar, but you won't. This next one is for winter. It's about snowshoeing. I took that up a few years ago. I really like walking out into the snow when nobody's stepped on it yet. I draw hearts in the snow with my poles, and I put the letter P inside the heart and send prayers up to the sky, hoping you can hear them. This one's called Snowshoeing in the Afternoon. I align my snowshoe poles, move them in rhythm. Right foot, left pole, left foot, right pole. I stop and set my start. I'm not a natural at winter sports. Today's venture offers bold sun. Squinting in the brightness of the coldly white and opaque deep powder, I marvel at snow sparkle. One foot and then the other. The snow crunches under my feet. My ski poles punch out cookie-cutter holes as I mark out my paths. I walk towards the horizon, step out of solid, firm footing, and up into beckoning sky. Snowshoeing through a hazy mist, the view is not what I expected. There is nothing here, no clear direction. Right foot, right pole, left foot, left pole. My rhythm is broken. Without the weight of earth, there is no indentation marking my presence. No looking back to see how far I have come and where I stopped to rest, drew hearts in the snow, where I sat down to admire the view, where I challenged myself to keep going. I walk for a while, unsure of my footing, until I see a thin line of separation through the fog, not too far off. I walk slowly towards home, a grounding I understand. This next one is in spring. So this little stone angel that I found at a trade rock and gem show a few years ago, and he's smiling in the crowd because I met him there and hadn't seen each other in many years and gave each other big hugs, Aaron. So that was pretty cool. So this poem is called Stone Angel. A small red jasper angel lay in a display box with other carvings. Its luster draws me towards it. I pick it up, feel an energy surge. My left palm tingles. Is this angel the one? With tall wings and folded prayer hands. It's elegant, simple. Chalcedony mineral with a smooth finish. I had a dream just before Christmas. This message is urgent. I was to find and purchase the angel in remembrance of my son. I woke restless. He'd have no interest in a blonde, ringlet-haired, porcelain-faced doll. 4 months later, at a rock and gem show, this red root chakra angel chose me. I place it on the windowsill in my study. When the sun streams in, my angel warms. I rub its polished wings with the tips of my fingers. The flutter in my heart lessens, and I begin to write. Summer. It's called 6 years. We can talk and we can share our life experiences with those that are living. I text my daughter every day. Now I see her every day, which is really cool. My only way of communicating with Preston, for me, is to write. So I continue to write to him every day through all the seasons. 6 years. My pen is still. Thoughts are few. I sit in my sunroom, look out the large windows, see the same blue spruce and poplar I did yesterday. A sparrow family flies in and out of the birdhouse that faces this room. Air wafts through the screens, scents of pine, wild roses, white ripening blueberries, garden greens. There is slight change from yesterday, except yesterday tightened my breath. 6 years since Preston died. 6 years. I ache all over. I twirl my pen around in my fingers, around and around. A wasp spins at the window, flies trapped between screen and glass. I hear the familiar call of the great horned owl who lives in our yard. My dog barks. I read poems. Can't find one I like. I flip back the pages of my journals, the ones I've written in every day since he died. I turn the pages back, further back, until the day darkens and the stars dot the sky. This one is called End with a Hope. Dear Robert Frost, those of you that know me know that Robert Frost is my favorite poet. The Road Less Traveled, my favorite poem. Dear Robert Frost, I fled deep into the woods where the trail ends, pushed further, disappeared after my son's terminal brain cancer diagnosis. I walk in the forest, tread on leaves, give them their first footprint, bend branches with my hands. Tangled brambles lead me in circles. I emerge in the same clearing I walked through earlier. The road less traveled isn't a road. I walked this path for years. I can't dispute the unmarked wild beauty here. Tall pines reach up for a sky embrace. Sun shines through aspen boughs, nurtures the forest floor. Breaks in the woods open to meadows and small, tear-shaped ponds. Robert, I've been in the woods a long time, and it has made a difference. I stand on a path leading home, my arms laden with journals. I'd like to close with the last poem. It's called Rose Quartz. And I know that grief settles inside all of us for whoever we've lost, and we find a way to live with it. And time passes, and we're still here. So we just Keep breathing. Keep breathing. Rose quartz. I lose you every morning when I open my eyes. My memory awakens and I remember you are gone. I have reclaimed you through my words, brought you to life, birthed poems from a place of loss and healing. A rose quartz tucked in my left palm warms the longer I hold it. I press the crystal between my breasts. The rise and fall of my chest finds its rhythm. I place my right hand over my left and breathe. I thank everyone for coming. Like I said, I'm really, really overwhelmed by the turnout tonight and the support and the surprises I had of two absolutely wonderful friends that flew in as a surprise for me tonight. I'm still recovering from that one. If you'd like to purchase a book, I'd be honored. And if you do, perhaps pass it along after you've read it and keep that experience connection going. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank Lori and Belinda again for being with us tonight and sharing with us. We have copies of their books on the desk to your right, and if you'd like your copy signed or if you'd like to say hello, they'll be happy to meet you here at the signing table. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight and enjoy the rest of your evening.